Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Phelan's Earth Science videos. I hope you're all doing well and staying positive. Today we are going to continue our discussion of inside of the Earth's interior, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the different layers inside of the Earth. So the good news is, like a lot of things in earth science, you don't have to memorize information about the interior of the Earth or the Earth's layers, because you can find a lot of useful information in your earth science reference table. So in this video, we are going to be looking at ESRT page 10. So if you could take out your ESRT right now and open up to page 10, it should look something like this. In this video, we are only going to focus on the very top part of this page, of page 10. Okay, so I just want you to focus in on the picture at the very top of the page. Okay, so we've learned this week about the different layers of the Earth. We learned that Earth has a few main layers: the inner core, outer core, the mantle, the asthenosphere, the lithosphere, the crust. Okay, so in this picture shows you what it looks like on the inside, what Earth looks like if you were to kind of take a profile. If you were to cut a piece of the Earth and just take a chunk out, like taking a chunk of cake out of the cake, okay, what would you see? So we're going to go ahead and highlight the different layers of the Earth. If you have highlighters or colored pencils at home, you can follow along and do it. You can use different colors, whatever you might have. Okay, let's start by looking here. It tells us the name of each layer. So if I look here, I'm going to color the inner core in yellow. Okay, so that little bottom section is the inner core. And notice where it says inner core, it also tells me that the inner core is made of iron and nickel. Okay, so notice under the name it says iron and nickel. That's because that's what the inner core is made of. You might also notice that the lines get extended outside of the piece of cake. Okay, and there's this barrier over here. This number on the side tells me the density of that layer. So this is the density of the inner core. Okay, so in the inner core, the density values would be in between 12.8 and 13.1. The very next layer of the Earth is the outer core. We can highlight that in orange. Okay, the outer core, as you can tell, is also made of iron and nickel. And again, it tells us that right underneath the name. Okay, see where I'm circling here? It says iron and nickel. That's what the outer core is made of. And if I extend my coloring to outside of the picture, I can see that the density of the outer core is between 9.9 and 12.2. Okay, this is density of the outer core. Above the outer core, we have the stiffer mantle. Okay, we can color this part here in red if you have it. Okay, and the stiffer mantle, okay, has its density range lumped in with the layer above it. So let's color in the layer above the stiffer mantle before we talk about the density. Okay, above the stiffer mantle, we have what we call the asthenosphere. Okay, and that's in that gray shaded area. We'll color this yellow. So the density for the stiffer mantle and the asthenosphere is here on the side. What is the density ranges for these layers? It's 3.4 to 5.6. Okay, there are a few other things I want to point out on our chart before we end for today. Okay, if you look here, it mentions the lithosphere. You might remember in our notes yesterday, we learned that the lithosphere was made up of two pieces of Earth's interior. It's the crust and the rigid mantle. And our ESRT tells us that with this little bracket here. Notice right here, I'm going to draw an arrow to it. We have this little bracket. Okay, so the lithosphere is made up of the crust and the rigid mantle. The lithosphere is made up of the crust and the rigid mantle. Another layer that we need to highlight on here is the crust. We just said the lithosphere was made up of the crust and rigid mantle. I'm going to highlight the crust in blue. Remember, the crust is the thinnest outermost layer of Earth. It's the surface of the Earth that we walk on. We can highlight that in blue. Yesterday, or Monday, we learned that there are two types of crust: continental crust and oceanic crust. Okay, so if we look on the side over here, our ESRT mentions continental crust and oceanic crust. Notice that it says granitic continental crust. It says that because we learned continental crust is made of granite. You don't have to memorize that. It says it in your ESRT. Continental crust is made of granite. Oceanic crust, which is what the ocean floor is made of basalt. Here it says basaltic oceanic crust because the oceanic crust is made of basalt. I want you to notice here it also gives us two numbers. Okay, it says 2.7 and 3.0. This is the density of the crust. The other day we learned that continental crust is less dense than oceanic crust. And this makes sense because 2.7 is less than 3.0. Okay, that's your way to look up or remember that continental crust is less dense than oceanic crust. Oops. One last thing to point out in this video is I want you to take a look at the asthenosphere, which we colored in yellow here. Okay, and if you look right here, there are these arrows. Okay, we have some arrows in the asthenosphere. We learned about those. Those are our convection currents. So you might see a question that asks, in which layer of Earth do convection currents occur? You just look for the arrows and then you say, oh, it happens in the asthenosphere. Match the layer to the location of the arrows. That's all for today. We'll be back with another video tomorrow looking at the rest of the information on this chart. Hope you have a great day.